Hey, this is Tony, it's BT Media Group, and we're doing our brand new series, and we're calling it Your Gear, Your Sound. And I'm in the studio with Mr. Gregg Erwin. How you doing?
Oh man, fantastic.
Very cool,
Fantastic.
very cool. Greg
Thanks
is
to
with
you.
Magnolia Boulevard.
Yes.
Man, you guys are just killing it, doing all kinds of cool
Thank
stuff.
you, man. We're extremely lucky to have met each other and know each other, and it's one of those situations like you were talking about with your band. We're lucky, man. I've been so fortunate.
Well, it's really good. The vibe you guys got and the buzz that's going around with you all, super cool.
Yeah, man.
And being tone, and that's what we're into. We were like, I got to get Greg down here and talk about his tone, because if you've ever been to a Magnolia concert, you come away going, that guitar player is killing it. And what is he playing? Every guitar player is like, what is Greg doing there? What's the magic?
This is now my main. I'm still getting to know it. I've been a PRS player for 2 or 3 years now. I got my first PRS at Wilcutt's, and
Yeah.
to be honest, man, I grew up on a Strat, cut my teeth on a Strat, and have never been a fan of wide necks and
Right.
big baseball bat neck. But I went to Wilcutt's one day, and I have a gold S2, an Egyptian gold PRS
Yes,
S2,
yes.
and that it sort of feels like a Strat, but what I just picked it up, and what I loved about it at first was the amount of space between the bottom of the little E string and the bottom
Yeah.
of the fretboard. You know,
That's really true, because a lot, like my Strat can roll off
kind of
at the
frets
heartbeat.
out.
Yeah.
Man. And it's what I always done with a Strat was like either 10 through 46, I believe,
Yeah,
or
10.
10 through 52.
Yeah.
Just depending, but I would sometimes even put an 11 on top and then raise the action
Right.
on it just to grab it some, and
Right.
then to play slide on it as well.
Your playing style is kind of, you've always been kind of a guy that will fit the guitar to what your playing style
Yeah.
is. You'll go ahead and modify and
Yeah, man.
tweak the strings.
Absolutely. Anyways, this one right here is a McCarty, and it's a 2018 McCarty.
And that's McCarty, not McCartney, like a lot of people think.
Yeah. It's after Ted McCarty.
Yeah.
And Ted was the guy that owned Gibson or the president of Gibson.
Yeah.
From 1950 to 1965, I believe.
Wow, I didn't know
And
that.
Paul, like back in I think around like 89 or 90, don't quote me on that, Paul. He met Ted McCarty, and Ted kind of took him under his wing. And at
Wow.
this point in his life, Ted was almost blind or completely blind. I'm not sure what had happened. So, anyways, Paul asked him all these questions that nobody else did, man. Like, how did you, when you were making the bursts,
Yeah.
the 59 Les Pauls, how were you doing this? How
That's
are you
crazy.
cutting this? How are you gluing this together? And Ted took him under his wing, and this guitar is the result from that.
Wow.
This model, and it's got the 85 or the 5815 pickups in it, and man, this thing is it's very light, but it just sounds huge, man.
That's
So
very cool.
very, very lucky to have it, man. It's
Yeah.
a great.
I mean, yeah, that's some
guitar.
heritage right
Yeah,
there. to
yeah,
be-
man.
What's the strings of choice right now? What kind of strings are you playing?
Lately, I've been using these new Ernie balls called the Ultra Slinkies,
Ultra Slinky.
and I'm usually a pure nickel guy.
Yeah.
But you know how it is with pure nickels. You'll play one show, and
Right, they're phenomenal for 6 hours
Exactly.
or whatever.
They
and then-
they just have, especially with playing slide, they just have so much punch and so much mid range to them. But with these Ultra Slinkies, which I just recently came across maybe 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
it's just a 10 through 46 set, but they're nickel wound, I
Right.
believe. But they sound like a pure nickel.
Very
which
cool.
I-
Let's move on to amps, because you brought. He's been in the studio actually playing on a project coming up, and he just killed it. It's going to be super fun, and looking forward to that. So everybody stay tuned. But you brought a couple amps.
Yeah, man.
And these are your kind of your mainstay if you're out gigging.
I played through a PRS Sonzera
Yeah.
often too. That's what Maggie always plays through. It's a 2-channel amp, just fantastic. Check them out. And anyways, this one, man, I'd probably have to say this is my go-to.
Right.
For on the road dates, touring, even some studio stuff. But This is a VVT amp, stands for Vintage Vacuum Tube.
Vintage vacuum tube. I never knew
Yeah.
VVT. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, yeah, Vintage Vacuum Tube. And this guy named James Hill out of Waldorf, Maryland, hand makes every one of them. And
Wow.
man, this thing is incredible. It's 40 watts, single channel. It goes to 12 too.
It really does go to 12. We'll do some B-roll and show everybody it goes to 12.
But yeah, man, I'm extremely, extremely fortunate to have this amp. It's a Jack Pearson model.
That's what I was just going to say. I see Jack Pearson's name on it. So he
You
signed
know
off
Jack.
on this. Yeah.
You know Jack, man.
Yeah.
And this amp is actually based on, Jim makes another model of the VVT. It's a combo. It's 40 watts through 115.
Yeah.
And it's actually based off of the Lindy Fralin model, the pickup guy.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Wow.
Jim makes an amp for him, you know.
It's 40 watts, single 15.
Yep.
Jack Pearson model.
Jack Pearson model. Yeah,
Wow,
man.
and
I
this is
love it.
your go-to stage amp.
Yeah,
Very
because
cool.
it's so, you have all the volume and, you know, everything you want in it. You can, it sounds good wherever you have it.
Right.
Man. And when you're turning knobs on it, you can tell that it's doing something.
Yeah.
Like,
And then you also brought,
oh yeah, man.
and you've had this amp for a while.
Yeah, this is my
Got some stories, yeah.
Yeah, it's got a lot of stories in it.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I first seen you play this, did it just have 3 speakers in it? Was that?
It did. And actually, I don't know if you can see it. When I got the amp, this guy was tearing down a 4-room cabin in Breathitt County, somewhere in Breathitt County, and this was the only thing in the house. And he called me, and he wasn't a musician.
Right.
But, you know, luckily called me, and he said, I have something that you may be interested in. And I was like, okay. And he came by the house, and it had like a rat's nest in the bottom of it, like by the reverb tank. Still had all 4 original speakers in it, but again, you know, there was something that ran through it, a big hole in the cone of the speaker. But yeah, man, I've had it for years, and it's my baby.
What year is this?
It's a 68. And
68.
It's the AB 763 circuit, so it's got the black face guts in it.
Right.
It was the first year where you can see what they call the drip edge.
Yeah, the drip edge.
But it's essentially a black face amp, but it was the first year that, you know, Fender sold that
CBS started
CBS.
doing that thing, and they were still using. It's kind of weird. Fender had like stock, like excess parts, and they're just grabbing parts from 67, 60, 66,
Yeah.
65.
Yeah.
And I mean, their quality control, it luckily wasn't much. You know what I mean? Because nowadays there
For
wouldn't be
us,
allowed to do
luckily,
it. Yeah,
exactly.
luckily.
Exactly.
Also, we'll jump to the pedals in a second, but one of your secrets, and I feel like when Derek Trucks never told anybody about this, I'm getting ready to out you, I guess. But one of your secrets on these vintage amps is you run kind of like a variac, right?
Yes, sir. Which
Explain
means a shot at it, yeah.
explain to what a variac is, or a voltage regulator.
Well, God, we can go for 2 hours.
Give them the abridged
highlights,
version. Yeah.
All right, so especially on vintage amps.
Vintage amps.
The AC pack, you plug, you know, your wall outlet in your
Right.
home. Back in the 60s, it was lower, much lower.
Right. Well, I mean, if you've always heard people say, oh, you've got 110 power. Well, actually, back in the 50s, 60s,
Yeah.
it was actually 110
Yeah.
volts when you plugged it in.
With all the old Tweed amps,
Yeah.
they're 110.
So everything was built back in the day to run on 110 volts.
Yep.
And so, but now, I don't know why, because power has to go farther, it's got to be a little
Yeah.
stronger. Now, if you meter in here, it's probably 125 volts.
Absolutely.
So these vintage amps weren't really built, you're running them too hot,
Way
basically.
too hot, yeah.
So you have something to compensate for that.
Yeah, man. And something I've found just from trial and error, 1 volt makes all the difference in the world, man. Especially, I mean, even if you have a big pedal board and all,
Right.
but even just plugging straight into it, man, 1 volt is everything. And like with this, like you were saying, back in the 50s, it was 110.
Yeah.
When they started making the black face and even the early silver faces, they were built for 117.
Yeah.
So, But anyways,
Yeah, because they saw that they started compensating.
exactly. You know, but
Yeah.
I guess the population going up and all that stuff.
Right.
You know.
My Hammond organ is recommended 90 volts to 110 volts.
Really?
I mean, can you imagine? I
That's
mean,
crazy.
how different things are like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So we'll get some
It
shots.
happens so fast.
We'll get some shots of the voltage regulator. But
Yeah.
basically, you have something that you plug your amp into.
Yeah.
So you have to go and meter every time you play. You're metering and
Yeah.
saying this is the voltage.
Yeah.
But then you
That's-
dial that voltage
Yes,
to
sir.
117. You're given the voltage number.
It's
you want to get that sound.
Exactly, man. And it's just, you know, sometimes I run it at 118, but it's for slide, you know, if
Right.
I'm recording, I'll put it at 117. But essentially, what the Variac does, before I on any gig,
Yeah.
or actually anything.
Yeah, if you're gonna
before I
plug your
even
amp
plug
in.
my amp in before I turn it on, and this goes with any amp.
Yeah.
But I'll read the voltage, you know,
Yeah.
and AC, and figure out, you know, what I need to do with it, because sometimes you do run into a perfect 120, but
Yeah.
also sometimes you run into 130,
Yeah.
and sometimes you run into 110, or
Right.
like 105. We were at a festival, I'll keep nameless,
Right.
last year, and it was like 90 something,
And that will tweet
kill
amps.
it, man. It'll
Just
kill them.
Yeah, just give up on
And
it.
actually, not glory grabbing here, but I plugged into that, and I told the front of house guy, and it's a pretty big festival.
Right.
I said, man, do y'all have a generator that you can turn this up on? And I told him, I said, you know, it's 90, it was literally like 98 volts. And I told him, I said, it's supposed to be 120, you know? And he said, well, that's why he had blown like 2 microphones.
Oh
out
yeah,
there or
yeah,
something.
totally.
So, and you know, they went and turned it up, and he didn't have a problem. But
So basically, Greg saved the festival.
but yeah, with a Variac, you can turn the voltage up or down.
Right.
98% of the time, you're turning it down.
Yeah.
But what's cool about these old Fenders, especially, you have a jumper outlet on the back of it, so I can plug the Variac into the wall, plug the amp in, and before I even turn it on, I can read the power running through.
That's true. That's good.
So, you know, and then just dial the Variac
Right.
to where it needs to be, you know.
But cool. Very minimal. I mean, is this your go-to?
This is it, man.
An
This
old
is it.
full-tone OCD.
Yep.
And not even really extreme on the setup. I mean,
Yeah, just
10 o'clock on everything.
just there, yeah.
And then the old standard, the Boss tuner.
The
That
Boss
gotta
tuner, yeah.
have.
I would rather have a TU2, but you know, the TU3 works fine.
Oh yeah,
And
totally.
what I like about it, like I was telling you earlier, I need an ABY box actually
Right.
with a ground lift on it, but this works for now.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It has 2 outs on it, so I can
Yeah,
run.
so you're running in stereo basically
Yeah,
right
man.
now.
And I do that when I can.
When
know
you
what I'm
can,
saying?
right.
And
Don't ever give a guitar player room on stage. We will take it up. I mean, if it's allowed. I see.
Exactly.
Let's go ahead. I see some pretty funky guitar cables. What do you got going on
yeah,
there?
man, these actually, these will be out this coming spring or summer. I'm not exactly sure the date, but
So they've got, this is like not out yet, but it's Paury Smith.
they're not out
cable?
yet. It says ultra pure silver plated on it. I've
I love
actually
it.
never noticed that.
I love that. I like the cables that are smaller like
Yeah.
that. They just seem to not get in the way as much.
Well, and you know something else, and this is another thing that I'm big on as well. I have 2 of these, and you know, doing the track while ago, I just used the super reverb,
Right.
so I was using 2 of these cables. These are 18-foot cables, and where I don't use a lot of pedals,
Mm-hmm.
the longer the cable that you have, it kind of gives you a natural compression.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm big on that, you know. There's a huge difference between a 10-foot cable and a 20-foot cable. The
Big
sound,
time.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, people don't realize, but the cable length, it changes your guitar tone
Oh,
drastically.
absolutely.
Even like those curly chords that were popular back in the day, and they say they're 30 feet long because they really darken all your amps. And
Yes.
that's why you see a lot of people back, those 70s pictures of twin reverbs and stuff with curly chords.
Exactly.
It was this. They didn't
Yeah.
realize it probably. That was this marriage of cable length
Yeah.
versus darkening the amp.
That's right. You know,
So if you really, some might say you're deteriorating the sound the longer the cable, but I would just say you're changing the sound
Absolutely.
because it's all about what kind of tone you're looking
exactly. And again, like plug in. If you were to plug straight in, I would use the longest cable possible.
for. I feel like you've really dialed it in, and you've been working on tone ever since I've known you.
I've been a tone freak, man.
And I think you're the happiest I've seen you with your tone.
I am right now, man.
Yeah.
I sure am.
And it's it's very minimal, but it is getting the sound that you're looking for.
It's
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, listen, Greg,
man.
I really appreciate you coming in, tracking with me,
Absolutely.
and hanging out with me all day. And I love that you don't mind just digging in and showing everybody the setup. That's super
Absolutely,
cool.
yeah, man. And also, I got one more piece of gear. These Dunlop slides. So got to.
Oh yeah, we
Yeah,
talked
totally.
about your slide play, and we didn't even ask about what kind of
Man.
slide you've got.
I've got a couple old Chorus Eden medicine balls, and they're great, man, but they're so rare anymore that I'm almost scared to take them out. Is fear of losing them for one, or
As
dropping
somebody who I break a glass slide every third or fourth show because I'm doing the whole, and then I sling it off and I hit a metal stand. I would not be good with a Chorus Eden at all.
Man, you have to be careful with them. I've been lucky with this, just being the only player guitarist. Most 9 out of 10 times in Magnolia, I'll be in the middle of a slide solo and just throw this down and go back to playing, and
You're still lucky. You still got it.
Yeah, man, I need to stop that with this one, because this one's special to me, man. But,
Hey, well, Greg, I really appreciate you stopping by
Absolutely,
and doing this
man.
with us. This is actually, we're doing a whole series of the Your Gear, Your Sound, and you're the first one.
Oh, wow.
Surprise!
Oh, man. I'm flattered.
Well,
man.
but I appreciate it. I appreciate you just digging in and letting everybody know how
Sure,
everything is and how you get the sound that you get. Everybody, for sure, go check out Magnolia Boulevard. Go check out all the stuff Greg is involved in. He's always doing something with Paul Reed Smith and those kind of things. I've been seeing all kinds of recordings on social media. I don't know what's happening, but I'm sure things are happening.
We
all that stuff.
We have some stuff in the works.
Very cool.
So
And Maggie just had a baby, so you've been on a little bit of a baby.
Yeah, we're on break from March the 2nd until June the 1st, and
You're just gonna hit it wide open as
fire
always.
back
right?
up, man.
Very cool.
It's been the longest 3 months of my life.
I can imagine.
It's just because I love it so much.
Right.
Absolutely.
Greg, I appreciate it, man.
Pleasure, man.
We'll see you next
Pleasure.
time. And thanks for watching Your Gear, Your Sound. And stay tuned. We got a lot more coming up.
Peace.